Welcome back to the Curiosity Beast. This is part 2 of our Space Solar Power series. If you missed part 1, go watch it first. That's where we explained how this idea collapsed in the 1970s and why it would have cost $5 trillion. Today, we're answering a different question. Why might this actually work in 2025? And trust me, the new designs are wild. When we left off, SpaceX had changed everything. Launch costs dropped from $54,500 per kilogram with the space shuttle to under $3,000 with Falcon 9. That's an 18 times reduction. And if Starship delivers on its promises, costs could fall below $200 per kilogram. Solar panels have changed too. They're now 3 times more efficient, far lighter, and dramatically cheaper than anything engineers had in the 1970s. So the question became simple. Can we finally make space-based solar power work? Even with these improvements, the original 1970s design was still a problem. It would cost over $400 billion, and it still relied on armies of astronauts welding massive structures together in orbit for months. So engineers went back to the drawing board, and they came back with something completely different. Meet Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is a next-generation solar power satellite. It's 4 kilometers long and 1.7 kilometers wide, far smaller than the original 10-kilometer monsters. At each end are twisted mirror pairs that concentrate sunlight onto ultra-high-performance solar panels. These panels are absurdly advanced. They weigh just 240 grams per square meter. For comparison, the old panels were thick glass slabs. These are thin plastic sheets layered with semiconductors that convert 39% of sunlight into electricity, more than triple the old efficiency. The panels are interwoven with microwave antennas arranged in a helical shape. That shape lets the satellite always aim a power beam at Earth without moving parts. No motors, no hinges, nothing to break. Everything is modular. Pieces snap together like Lego. No welding, no spacewalk construction crews. And most importantly, robots assemble it, not humans. Each module uses electric thrusters to slowly raise itself into geostationary orbit. This technology is already used on modern satellites and is 10 times more efficient than chemical rockets. Fully assembled, Cassiopeia weighs 1,348 tons and produces 1 gigawatt of power. At the same mass, the 1970s design would have produced 10 times less. Launching it would cost around $4 to $5 billion. The entire project, construction, launch, and ground receivers, comes in near $20 billion over a decade. That's expensive. But here's the key point. That's roughly the cost of a nuclear power plant. So now we're close. Not perfect, but close. Then engineers pushed the idea even further. Swarms, drop a comment. What sounds better to you? One giant satellite or thousands of smaller ones? Instead of building one massive structure, imagine launching thousands of satellites the size of today's geostationary platforms. Each one has its own solar panels, electric thrusters, and positioning system. But here's the twist. They don't use microwaves. They use infrared lasers. Each satellite fires a tightly focused laser beam toward Earth. On the ground, specialized solar panels, tuned to that wavelength, convert 60 to 80% of the energy back into electricity. The beam intensity? About 1,000 watts per square meter. That's exactly the same as noon sunlight. Not dangerous, not a weapon, just bright. And this approach has a massive advantage. You don't need to finish the system before it works. The moment the first satellite reaches orbit, it starts delivering power. Then you add more. Scale gradually. No waiting decades for a single mega project to finish. If Starship hits $200 per kilogram, each satellite would cost about $1 million to launch. A full 1 gigawatt swarm would cost roughly $1 billion total. For the first time, space-based solar power becomes cheaper than fossil fuels. Lasers also unlock something else: space-to-space power. Satellites in low orbit could receive power while passing through Earth's shadow. Military bases could receive energy without fuel convoys. The strategic value alone is enormous. There are downsides. Lasers struggle with heavy cloud cover. And let's be honest, the phrase space lasers scares people. But there's one more design, and it's the most controversial of all. If you're still watching, hit subscribe because this one bends your brain. Reflect Orbital. Reflect Orbital skips electricity conversion entirely. No solar panels in space, no microwaves, no lasers, just mirrors. giant mirrors in orbit that reflect sunlight down to existing solar panels on Earth. During the day, panels work normally. At night, when they usually go dark, the mirrors reflect sunlight down from space. Power generation continues after sunset. It sounds simple, almost too simple. So what's the catch? First, cost. Sunlight is free, rockets aren't. Second, light pollution. Are we eliminating night? Reflect Orbital's solution is clever. They use terminator orbits, orbits that follow the line between day and night. The satellite is always in sunlight and always passing over areas at sunrise or sunset. That timing matters. Electricity demand peaks during those hours. Solar output is weakest, but people are cooking, commuting, using air conditioning. Power prices spike. Reflect Orbital sells sunlight when electricity is worth the most. And because it operates during twilight, not midnight, the impact on wildlife and light pollution is reduced. They're not turning night into day, just extending dusk a little longer. As Earth rotates, the same satellites can serve the entire planet. California at sunset, Tokyo at sunrise, Europe an hour later. It's clever, really clever. But the concerns are real. Astronomers worry about telescope interference. Biologists worry about nocturnal animals, and people worry about losing the night sky. Reflect Orbital claims their mirrors would be no brighter than the moon and only visible during twilight. But the debate is far from settled. So where does that leave us? Here's what we know. The technology exists. Multiple designs are competing, costs are falling fast, and the demand for clean 24/7 energy isn't going away. China is funding projects. Japan is funding projects. The UK is funding projects. Private companies are building prototypes, and SpaceX is quietly removing the biggest obstacle of all, launch cost. Within the next 10 years, we could see the first real space-based solar power systems come online. They won't start by powering entire nations. They'll begin small, remote military bases, isolated islands, disaster-stricken regions where fuel is expensive or impossible to deliver. But they won't stay small. And if they succeed, we could enter a future where clean energy rains down from space. No fossil fuels, no nuclear waste, no blackouts caused by clouds, nightfall, or weather. The dream that died in 1980 is coming back. And this time, the technology is finally ready. So let me ask you, would you accept orbital mirrors extending twilight to keep the lights on? Do laser swarms sound like the better solution? Or do you think space-based solar power will never leave the drawing board? The Curiosity Beast is all about the technologies that could reshape our world. If you love exploring what's coming next, subscribe, hit the bell, and join a community of curious minds who look forward instead of away. Because right now, up there in orbit, engineers are building something that could change everything. And it may not be science fiction for much longer.